Hi, it's Brenda Workman. Welcome to my kitchen. Glad you stopped by. I'm putting together a bean salad today. Sometimes you have events that you go to and you like to make something a little different, not the same thing that everybody else makes. I don't know about you, but sometimes when my church has a dinner, several people sign up for the same thing, or they want to bring something and someone else has already signed up for it. So go outside the box, do something a little bit different. So what I've done today is I've actually put together a couple different recipes. One I used for the actual bean salad ingredients, and the other one I'm using just the dressing. But you could do so many things with a bean salad. So this particular one calls for four kinds of beans. One is chickpeas or garbanzo beans, and these are just canned. All I did was rinse them and add them to the salad. Calls for black beans, a can of black beans as well, same thing. I rinsed them ahead of time. Calls for kidney beans, a can of those. I love things you just dump in a bowl, don't you? Now it does call for green peas, and typically I have those in my freezer, but I didn't have any. So I alter recipes a lot. I decided I would use edamame because I have several frozen bags of edamame. So I just used the same amount as what it called for the green peas and just putting the edamame in. And then it called for, that was 1.5 cups, and then 1.5 cups of frozen corn that has been thawed. So add that. And then it calls for red onion. There again, I already had some white onion chopped up in my fridge, which I typically keep some in there for whatever I need it for recipes. So instead of adding the 1/2 cup of red onion that it calls for, I'm just using, it's a sweet white onion. So I'm just gonna add that so that I didn't have to cut up another onion. But if you wanted red onion, you certainly could use it. Now, the other recipe, which I'm just using the dressing for, it calls for things like you add to the beans, and it has some different beans, but you add celery and you can add red pepper. So you can do so many things with a bean salad, but I'm going to go with these ingredients that I have here. Before I get to the dressing for this bean salad recipe, let me mention that I have a plant-based success booklet that I think will be very valuable to you. It has a lot of information in it, especially when you're getting started with your plant-based journey. Just go to brendaworkmanspeaks.com/plant-based success, or I'm going to link it in the description below, and you can hit that link and take you right to it. So let's get this dressing made. Now let me go ahead and mix this up. And it's got beautiful color to it. I love any kind of salads that have color to them. It's so pretty. Let me show this to you. Look how beautiful that is. So colorful. Now the spices, well, I'll do that as I make the dressing. Let me go ahead and put the dressing together. So I'm just gonna put it in a bowl here. It calls for red wine vinegar, 1/4 cup. Now again, I'm using a different recipe for my dressing than I did for my bean salad, but you know, you can do what you want, right? So 1/4 cup of red wine vinegar. You'll find when you start fixing plant-based food, you do use a lot of vinegars. So that's something new that I didn't do in the past, and I've learned that a lot of yummy recipes call for different types of vinegar. Now it calls for maple syrup, 2 tablespoons. So I'm gonna add that. Almost got too much there. Okay, then it calls for Dijon mustard. It calls for a tablespoon of Dijon mustard. So let me get that and add it to our dressing. Calls for an 1/8 cup of water. So I've got some filtered water there that I'm adding. Now it calls for 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and I'm going to estimate this. It calls for a half a teaspoon of black pepper. I'll estimate that as well. And I love the seasonings that this has. It calls for a tablespoon of Italian seasoning. And it calls for red pepper flakes. So a half a teaspoon of red pepper flakes. So again, I'm gonna just estimate the I may have said half a cup. Please don't put a half a cup of red pepper flakes in. A half a teaspoon of red pepper flakes. And I'm estimating this, and of course if you get too much, it might be too spicy, so be careful there. You may wanna measure yours instead of guessing like I am. So you whisk that dressing together. So again, I'm just gonna go over that. That was a 1/4 cup of red wine vinegar, 2 tablespoons maple syrup, tablespoon Dijon mustard, 1/8 of a cup of water, half a teaspoon salt, half a teaspoon pepper. You could do a half a teaspoon of red pepper flakes if you want to. You can just do a pinch or you can do more. It depends on whether you like heat or not. And then a tablespoon of the Italian Italian seasoning, which I keep in my spice rack all the time. I use it in a lot of recipes. All right, so we're gonna pour this dressing over our bean salad. And mix that up. It smells really good. And again, you can do whatever you want here. If you wanted to add some red pepper, like a bell pepper, you certainly could, and that would give it additional color and additional texture. I'm gonna show this to you again. And then of course I have to taste it. So let me spoon myself out some. It looks delicious. Let's see if I got too much red pepper flakes in there. No. In fact, for my taste, I would add just a little more salt to that, but you taste it first. I always recommend people taste it first, but very, very good. You guys have to try this. Really, that didn't take very long. You didn't see the opening the can part or taking out frozen veggie part, but that didn't take long either. I just rinsed my cans of beans. I got out the frozen veggies out of the refrigerator and let them thaw, and just put all this together very quickly. So if you need a dish to take to a gathering, a church dinner, or a potluck event that you're going to, maybe a family reunion, I recommend this. It's really good. And again, if you want to add more color, put some red pepper in there. That would certainly give it a pop of color. And color brings nutrition when you're making your plant-based recipes. Thanks for joining me today. I hope this was something that you will try and enjoy. Remember, there's power in your plate, and what you eat really does matter. You take care of you. See you next time.